All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this meeting of the Los Angeles City Board of Public Works. It is Wednesday, October 6, 2021. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Dr. Campos.
Good morning, President Good. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, establishing roll call and quorum for today. We have President Good, we have President Pro Tem Davis, and Commissioners Villegas and Caloza. President Good, you do have a quorum this morning. At this time, we do not have any callers on the line for general public comment. However, we did receive one Google comment form that has been submitted and distributed to all commissioners this morning via email. In addition to that, we do not have any commentary under the Neighborhood Council comment section and no other members from the general public on any of the items for today's general agenda.
Okay, thank you. So then general public comment is closed. We'll take care of a couple of housekeeping items. One, item 18, we are going to continue to October 13th, correct? Is that the right date, Dr. Campos?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so we'll continue item 18 to October 13th. Then why don't we go ahead and take the minutes from Friday, September 17th, 2021. I'll motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll take Villegas' second. Any concerns, Davis or Caloza?
No concerns for me.
All right, hearing none, the minutes from Friday, September 17th, 2021 are approved and adopted forthwith. Let's skip forward to item number 11. This is a long one. Boy, I think I see Maria on here. You wore me out, Miss Martin, with this one. Okay, item number 11, sole source task order solicitations, AECOM Technical Services, Inc., ICF Jones and Stokes, Inc., and Parsons Transportation Group, Inc. Pre-qualified on-call environmental documentation services consultant list, Environmental Science Associates and SWCA environmental consultants, pre-qualified on-call environmental specialty studies services consultant list, 11 environmental management group projects. 1, Anaheim Street widening, environmental documentation and technical studies, work order E1908120. 2, Alameda Street widening from Harry Bridges to Anaheim, work order E1907671. 3, Hollywood Walk of Fame renovation, work order E1908444. Number 4, Harding Street Bridge rock slope protection, work order E6000940. Number 5, environmental permitting support for LA River Headwaters bike path, work order E1908342. Number 6, historic resources compliance monitoring for Vision Theater, work order E170378F. Number 7, Cesar E. Chavez Avenue Roundabout environmental documentation, work order E1906614. Number 8, environmental documentation for 111th Place LADOT all-electric bus maintenance facility, work order E1908773. Number 9, sidewalk and transit amenities program environmental documentation, work order E1908824. Number 10, cultural resources support for North Outfall Sewer Rehabilitation Unit number 11, Humboldt Street to Cardinal Street, work order SZC13729. 11, cultural resources evaluation for Maintenance Yard West Los Angeles facility, work order SZC14170. Recommending the board. Authorize the city engineer to issue a sole source TOS to AECOM Technical Services, Inc. from the pre-qualified on-call environmental documentation consultant services consultant list to provide environmental support services for the Anaheim Street widening environmental documentation and technical studies project with a budget authority not to exceed $42,600, which includes contingency. 2, Authorize the city engineer to issue a sole source TOS to AECom from the PQOC Environmental Documentation Consultant Services consultant list to provide environmental support services for the Alameda Street widening from Harry Bridges to Anaheim project with a budget authority not to exceed $114,050, which includes contingency. 3, authorize the city engineer to issue a sole source TOS to AECom from the PQOC Environmental Documentation Consultant Services consultant list to provide environmental support services for the Hollywood Walk of Fame renovation project with a budget authority not to exceed $627,935, which includes contingency. 4, authorize the city engineer to issue a sole source TOS to ICF Jones and Stokes, Inc. from the PQOC Environmental Documentation Services consultant list to provide environmental support services for the Harding Street Bridge Rock Slope Protection Project with a budget authority not to exceed $39,246, which includes contingency. 5, authorize the city engineer to issue a sole source TOS to ICF from the PQOC Environmental Documentation Services consultant list to provide environmental support services for the environmental permitting support for LA River Headwaters Bike Path Project with a budget authority not to exceed $24,687, which includes contingency. 6, authorize the city engineer to issue a sole source TOS to ICF from the PQOC Environmental Documentation Services consultant list to provide environmental support services for the environmental permitting support and for the historic resources compliance monitoring for Vision Theater project with a budget authority not to exceed $14,543, which includes contingency. 7, authorize the city engineer to issue a sole source TOS to ICF for the PQOC Environmental Documentation Services consultant list to provide environmental support services for the Cesar E. Chavez Avenue Roundabout Environmental Documentation Project with a budget authority not to exceed $100,610, which includes contingency. Number 8, authorize the city engineer to issue a sole source TOS to Parsons Transportation Group, Inc. from the PQOC Environmental Documentation Consultant Services consultant list to provide environmental support services for the environmental documentation for 111th Place LA DOT all-electric bus maintenance facility project with a budget authority not to exceed $298,036, which includes contingency. 9, authorize the city engineer to issue a sole source TOS to Parsons from the PQOC Environmental Documentation Consultant Services consultant list to provide environmental support services for the Sidewalk and Transit Amenities Program Environmental Documentation Project with a budget authority not to exceed $136,098, which includes contingency. Number 10, authorize the city engineer to issue a sole source TOS to Environmental Services or Environmental Science Associates from the PQOC Environmental Study Services consultant list to provide environmental specialty services and cultural resources support for North Outfall Sewer Rehabilitation Unit 11, Humboldt Street to Cardinal Street project with a budget authority not to exceed $18,401, which includes contingency. And 11, authorize the city engineer to issue a sole source TOS to SWCA Environmental Consultants from the PQOC Environmental Specialty Services consultant list to provide environmental specialty services for the cultural resources support for the North Outfall Rehabilitation 11 Humboldt Street to Cardinal Street project with a budget authority not to exceed $8,686, which includes contingency. All right, piece of cake. Ms. Martin, I assume you're here to present on the item.
Good morning, and thank you so much for reading that lengthy set of recommendations. I appreciate that. Our environmental pre-qualified on-call documentation and our pre-qualified specialty studies contracts expired, as you know, September 29, 2021, and the new contracts were approved on September 29, 2021. This report is basically just requesting a transfer of 11 tasks that had been started under the contracts that just expired and transferring them to the new contracts. The reason why we are asking this is because these particular projects, a total of 11 projects, are at critical stages, critical junctures of their completion, and as such, the most efficient way to complete these projects in the environmental management group is to transfer them to the new contracts. 9 of the tasks need to continue under the new QOC for environmental documentation services that was established by the board, like I said, in September. And 2 tasks need to continue under the environmental specialty consultant services. For each of the continuing tasks, what we're going to do is we will follow up with awarding board reports within approximately 120 days, detailing the invoiced amounts for the previous contracts and the remaining amounts to be invoiced under the new contracts. And we will be including the sub-consultant information when we report it back. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Martin. We'll open it up. President Pro Tem Davis.
Okay, I'm having a little technical problem on my viewing of the item, but could you discuss with me the scope of work that we're doing in terms of summarizing what the 2 tasks are? And I apologize for this difficulty. I'm trying to get the board motion up. But if you could just briefly share with me the 2 tasks
we have 11. We have 11 tasks under this board report, and these are different types of tasks that we're transferring, and basically they are for environmental documentation, for California Environmental Quality Act compliance, and for some of them for National Environmental Policy Act compliance as well. For instance, the first 3 items, it's basically for the CEQA clearance. And the last 2 items are under the specialty contracts. Those are for cultural resources compliance, again, for compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act. However, the main thrust of those projects is related to cultural resources. And for those, we are completing monitoring and reporting, and we are also completing we are complying with CEQA as it relates to potential impacts to cultural resources for the project. So it's so the various tasks are explained as either full environmental documentation, meaning a California Environmental Quality Act compliance, and for a couple of them also National Environmental Policy Act compliance, and then for a couple of the tasks, cultural resources compliance. Now, there's another task, for instance, number 4, completion of Harding Street Bridge rock slope protection. This is post-construction monitoring in accordance with the water quality certification as well. So it's various different tasks ranging from Clean Water Act compliance, CEQA compliance, NEPA compliance, cultural resources under CEQA, and all of that is detailed. I'm happy to give additional detail, but it varies.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Now, in specifically the cultural resources, could you paraphrase for me specifically what the characteristic of a cultural resource in this capacity is?
Okay, so we have 3 different types. For instance, for item number 6, the completion of historic resources compliance monitoring for the Vision Theater, which is under construction right now. The work is extending obviously beyond the expiration of the previous contracts, and the project construction is not completed. That is a historic theater, and the construction has to be monitored by an architectural historian, an expert in cultural resources. Then for the last 2 items...
Well, no, that's the one I'm interested in. That's the main one I'm interested in.
Okay.
So, in fact, what we're requesting in this particular motion is to, as it relates to this cultural resources, is to have the authority to get and to acquire a historical architect.
We're actually continuing.
We're continuing the services of the current one.
Exactly. That's what we're doing for all of these 11 tasks. We are continuing the services that we had acquired under the expiring contracts, we're transferring them to the new contracts. That's exactly what we're doing.
So could you tell me, in terms of that particular item, what the time limit is in terms of our anticipated completion? Obviously, we've had to extend it, but what do we understand moving forward is the timeline that we expect?
Yes, my understanding is that this task is going to be completed early next year. That it's nearing completion. We're simply transferring $14,543 for this one. We have already spent the bulk of the task budget, and my understanding is that we are nearing completion. That's my understanding.
So it's safe to say that we anticipate by the first of next year that we will have had this work completed?
That's my understanding. I'm not January or February is my understanding is the anticipated completion. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you. Appreciate your report. Ms. Martin is pretty lengthy, a lot of projects on. So I just wanted to get clarification. You said that most of them are I think all but 4 are almost done. They're close to completion.
Yes, my understanding, yes, they are. Obviously, there's some here that, for instance, the environmental documentation for the sidewalk transit amenities program, I think we are going to go ahead and complete it by the end of the year or the beginning of the year as well. So indeed, that is the case. Yes.
Okay. And then this pre-qualified list that we just approved, I think last month,
yes.
These will be, these projects, they'll be counted in terms of AECOM, Parsons, they'll be counted in that list, right? So that because we approved, like, I think a list of 11 also.
Yes, yes.
And so there's parity amongst everybody that's going to get this work on this pre-qualified list. What we're approving today, the TOS, will go towards that count on the pre-qualified list. So do you follow my question?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And yes, it is. This is going to be it's a task that's going to be awarded to them. So now I don't know if you're talking about the rotation, because
yes.
The order of the list. So indeed, these will count as these tasks are awarded to them. So it's added there and considered if we need to use the rotation. Yes.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
No more questions. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Vice President Garcia.
Good morning. Thank you, President Good. Ms. Martin, nice to see you. And yes, you have a very comprehensive report with tons of different projects in it. And thank you, because they're all very well described and categorized, and I appreciate that. It makes it easier and simpler to follow along. Ms. Martin, once these tasks are done, these 11 projects will be completely completed?
That's a very good question. For most of them, like I said, for the 7 that we're near completion, I can say with certainty, yes. However, one of the things that I think our board understands is that compliance with CEQA, NEPA, and with other regulations is a discovery type of process. And so we have estimated, we have budgeted, and well, the one task that I'm thinking, for instance, right now is the Hollywood Boulevard Walk of Fame. So we're still, for this particular project, this is the one I think that will have the longest continuation. And for this one, we, again, like, because it is a discovery process, as we come along, our tasks, based on the findings of one technical study, we may need to add or expand, et cetera, again, based on, because we typically issue these documents for public review, based on what we receive, there may be the need for additional expansion or explanation, sometimes even additional modeling to be able to respond to comments. So this is a very much a fluid type of process and documentation. We do analysis, documentation, we run models, etc., and that feeds into the process. So yes, we anticipate, we do have estimates, we do have the board reports, including the prior board report for Hollywood Boulevard Walk of Fame. So the answer is yes, we do anticipate that the environmental documentation will be completed under the tasks that we're transferring.
Got it. So for those that I see, like environmental, there's like two, I think, environmental documentation. That's kind of like the beginning of the project, if I understand it correctly.
Yes, there are a couple of them, and the reason why I'm transferring this tasks is because analysis and modeling already started. So not continuing the task would set us back quite a bit as far as time is concerned. And with all of these projects, typically, unfortunately, CEQA and NEPA end up being the critical path for the project and the project approval. So anytime we lose is critical.
Right. Okay, and this contract change date hasn't set you back in any of these 11 projects?
That's why I decided to come up with this, to come to you today with this very lengthy board report to ensure that the impact of this project is minimal or to none.
Got it. Okay. I think that's all for me, Ms. Martin. Thank you so much again for your report. Good job on categorizing each of the projects.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. That's all for me, President Good.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Commissioner Coloso.
Thank you, President Good. I don't have any questions for Ms. Martin. She briefed me on this and understand the urgency of all these projects where, don't want, as was already mentioned, any delays in delivering the environmental documentation for all these important projects. And the work had already started under the old list, and all we're doing here is transferring it to the new list that the board already approved recently. And so I know it's usually, we don't typically see items like this, right, where it's packaged like this, but this is just the environmental piece to transfer it onto the new contract so that our consultants can keep doing the work. I think my colleagues asked tons of great questions, and I don't have any more for you, Ms. Martin, other than thanks for all your work on this. And you are becoming a very popular person at City Hall with all the CEQA and NEPA requirements for each project. So thank you for your work.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thanks, Commissioner. Yeah, I have no questions. I'm pretty clear on what we're doing here. Among other things, we've been briefed in general on this a couple of different times. So I'm good to go. Commissioner Coloso, you want a motion to move this forward?
So moved.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Any concerns, Villegas or Garcia? All right. Hearing none. Item 11 is approved and adopted forthwith. I know you have some projects to work on, Ms. Martin, so please go forth.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. All right, colleagues, we're going to go back up the board, and we're going to take items 1 through 10 together. I'll read them into the record. Then I think, is Mr. Turcios going to be presenting on this?
That's correct, President Good. I'll be presenting this.
Good morning. Fabulous.
Good morning.
I'll read all these into the record, and then you can give an overall presentation, okay?
Will do. Thank you.
All right, item 1, assessment hearing number 1, Sherman Way and Caldis Avenue, Street Lighting Maintenance Assessment District. City Council hearing October 12, 2021. I'm not going to read the council file numbers, Dr. Caldis. Item number 2, assessment hearing number 2, Green Lawn Avenue and Sepulveda Boulevard, Street Lighting Maintenance Assessment District. City Council hearing October 12, 2021. This is in CD 11. Item number 3, assessment hearing number 3, Norwalk Avenue and Eagle Rock Boulevard, Street Lighting Maintenance Assessment District. City Council hearing October 12, 2021. That's in CD 14. Item number 4, West Boulevard and Dockweiler Streets, Street Lighting Maintenance Assessment District. City Council hearing October 12, 2021. This is in CD 10. Number 5, item number 5, assessment hearing number 5, Vantage Avenue and Weddington Street, Street Lighting Maintenance Assessment District. City Council hearing October 12, 2021. This is in CD 2. Item 6, assessment hearing number 6, street lighting or Santa Monica Boulevard and Mansfield Avenue, street lighting maintenance assessment district, city council hearing October 12, 2021. This is in CD4. Item 7, assessment hearing number 7, 7th Street and Lucas Avenue, street lighting maintenance assessment district, city council hearing October 12, 2021. This is in CD1. Item 8, assessment hearing number 8, Battery Street and Myler Street, street lighting maintenance assessment district, city council hearing October 12, 2021. This is in CD15. Item 9, assessment hearing number 9, Courtlake Drive and Kensington Road number 1, street lighting maintenance assessment district, city council hearing October 12, 2021. This is in CD11. And finally, item 10, assessment hearing number 10, Melrose Avenue and Penmar Avenue number 1, street lighting maintenance assessment district, city council hearing October 12, 2021. This is also in CD11. Mr. Tercios, please proceed with your presentation, and appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much, President Good. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, President, Commissioners, and Department representatives. So this is in regards to items 1 through 10. It pertains to lighting districts, which we are creating in conjunction with private development projects. Ballots for items 1 through 10 were mailed on August 25th, 2021. Ballots for items 1 through 10 must be received by the City Clerk's office by Tuesday, October 12th, 2021 for council hearing. We have not received any objections to date on items 1 through 10. We are requesting for the board to adopt and forward items 1 through 10 forthwith to City Council. And that's my presentation. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tercios. Any questions, Commissioner Villegas?
I don't have any questions. I appreciate your report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. President Pro Tem Davis?
None for me either. Thank you so much for your report, Victor.
Thank you, Davis.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Colosa?
Thank you, President Good. Thank you for your report, Mr. Tercios. I don't have any questions for you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, and Vice President Garcia?
Thank you, Victor. Nice to see you. I haven't seen you in a while now.
Been a while, Aura. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I appreciate that.
I don't have any questions. This is pretty standard, and I'm glad that we're getting to it.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right, I don't really have any questions either. Thanks for going through everything, Mr. Tercios. It's good to have you here. And do I have a motion, Vice President, to move these forward?
Yes, so move.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Any objections, Villegas or Colosa? All right, hearing none. Items 1 through 10 are approved and adopted forthwith. Thank you, sir. All right. Let's go to item 12. Item 12 is a request for qualifications, membrane filtration system suppliers, reverse osmosis system suppliers, and ultraviolet disinfection and ultraviolet advanced oxidation system supplies, Donald C. Tillman Water Reclamation Plant Advanced Water Purification Facility. Recommending the board, 1, authorize the Director of the Bureau of Sanitation to distribute and advertise the transmitted RFQ for the purpose of establishing a short list of qualified membrane filtration system package suppliers that will be allowed to provide quotations and proposals per the specification documents for the advanced water purification facility at the Donald C. Tillman Water Reclamation Plant. 2, authorize BOS to evaluate and qualify the respondents based on requirements set forth in the RFQ and identify a short list or develop a short list of qualified MFS package suppliers that will be allowed to provide quotations and proposals per the specification documents for the DCTWRP AWPF project. 3, authorize BOS to distribute and advertise the transmitted RFQ for the purpose of establishing a short list of reverse osmosis membrane system package suppliers that will be allowed to provide quotations and proposals for the specification documents for the Donald C. Tillman Water Reclamation Plant Advanced Water Purification Project. 4, authorize BOS to evaluate and qualify the respondents based on requirements set forth in the RFQ and develop a short list of qualified ROMS package suppliers that will be allowed to provide quotations and proposals per the specification documents for the Donald C. Tillman Water Reclamation Plant Advanced Water Purification Project. 5, authorize BOS to distribute and advertise the transmitted RFQ for the purpose of establishing a short list of qualified ultraviolet disinfection and ultraviolet advanced oxidation process system package suppliers that will be allowed to provide quotations and proposals per the specification documents for the Donald C. Tillman Water Reclamation Plant Advanced Water Purification Project. And 6, authorize BOS to evaluate and qualify the respondents based on the requirements set forth in the RFQ and develop a short list of qualified UV AOP system package suppliers that will be allowed to provide quotations and proposals per the specification documents for the Donald C. Tillman Water Reclamation Plant Advanced Water Purification Project. Is Mr. Haddad Zadigan here for this item?
Yes. Hello, Mr. President,
Morning.
commissioners, and department representative. Yeah. Thank you. So I'm going to, as you mentioned, I'm going to talk about Dcta WPF equipment RFQ. First, I'm going to give you a short background about this project as part of the city's long-term water management objectives of maximizing local water resources. LA San is leading the development of the Dcta WPF that will supply purified recycled water to replenish the San Fernando groundwater basin through surface spread. So this development of AWPF consists of like 3 technologies like microfiltration, reverse osmosis, and ultraviolet advanced oxidation. So on February 17 to 2021, Board of Public Works authorized LA San to distribute and advertise an RFP to evaluate, select, and negotiate an agreement with the progressive design build entity for the engineering phase of the Dcta WPF, which we are currently in the process of evaluating those design build entities. But to ensure that only most qualified suppliers provide equipment on these projects, it's necessary for us to create a short list of qualified suppliers. So because of that, a request for qualification or RFQ, which represent the first step of the procurement process for this one, is required. So we need to issue RFQ and ask the vendors to provide statement of qualifications. So for this board report is to authorize the director and general manager of LA San to distribute and advertise like RFQs, requests for qualification for the purpose of creating a short list of qualified suppliers for that 3 technologies I mentioned: membrane filtration, reverse osmosis, and ultraviolet disinfection, and also to authorize Bureau of Sanitation to evaluate and qualify the respondents based on the requirements set forth in this RFQ qualification. And after authorization, these RFQs will be posted on LA Baven, and once the committee will review and review the statement of qualification, score them, and the top one, the best one, will be in the short list for LA San, and that they will be used during this project. I'm ready to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Haddad Zadigan. Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you. I appreciate your report. Actually, I don't have any questions. I'm familiar with this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. President Pro Tem Davis.
Yes, I wanted to ask, how many vendors or contractors are we seeking to narrow it down to? Is it just one?
No. At this level, we just advertise it on LA Bavin, and we receive like as many like statements. And based on that, based on the requirement, we create a short list. And in the short list, I think at least 3 to 4 top companies will be on the short list. And we then, after that, we ask them to provide the bid for us. When we need the equipment, we ask all those the companies in the short list to give us a bid for the equipment. No, it's not going to be one.
And so they should, each of the companies competing for the bid should all have the capacity to do each of those 3 tasks that you mentioned, correct?
Yes. At this level, we just advertise the job. All companies that they are interested, they submit their statements of qualification. We evaluate them, we score them, and the top ones will be on the short list. When we post the bids, those bids only goes to those top companies, not to all of them.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Garcia, or Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, President Good. Mr. Sagdigan, good report on your letting us know the overall objectives. Thank you for that. As a matter of fact, and maybe this is something Dr. Campos can help me answer, do we have a routine update on the advanced purification water project that we here at board? For example, do you guys come every 3 months or by yearly to update us on how this project is going? And I'm also looking into Dr. Campos to see if we have, and I don't remember, I don't remember if you guys come and kind of update us where we're at on this project for the board.
As far as I know, the last, I don't know if there is like the scheduled routine plan to come for the update. So I'm not aware of that, but I'm here today for this authorization. I don't know the details about if there is any program to regularly update the board about that project.
Okay.
Commissioner, this is Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. To answer your question, we do not have that as an oral report back for the advanced purification system. We can always add it to next year's schedule for calendar year 2021, which the memo actually goes out in November, December of this year. So this is a perfect timing if your board would like to include either quarterly or semi-annual reports back on this matter. We can definitely add that to next year's schedule.
Okay, I would like to consider that, President Good, that if we can have this, I'm not thinking quarterly, I'm thinking more semi-annually, just because there's so much that is going into this project, and I feel that we're like approving pieces of it all the time. And even though we all know the big objectives and we all know where we're going with this, it'll be great to see, at least for me, for example, how much have we spent thus far? How many different contractors are we contracting just for this advanced verification project? I'm not sure if we've approved before any other RFPs. We probably did, and I don't remember right now. So it would be good for me to just kind of oversee where we're at, and so that we can continue kind of proving these pieces of it. So I just want to put that out there, and so I hope that that's into consideration, and you can let your team know that that's something we would at least I know I want to see, President Good.
Vice President Garcia, we could right now ask
Do it.
to set up a briefing on DCT.
All right, so Mr. Sagdad, we're gonna do it. We're gonna see you more often now.
Thank you so much.
Good. And that was really it. I understand that where we're at and what we're doing with this one. I just kind of wanted to kind of take the aspect of the bigger picture of this project. That's all for me, President Good.
I think that's a really good idea. Ted Jordan, get your hand raised.
Yeah, just to provide additional kind of background information. This is the Bureau, and we concur with the Bureau's recommendations, so let me just state that without any qualification. We're pre-qualifying separate specific packages that will be baked into the overall project. The overall project is like, hundreds of millions of dollars. the prime contractors, the design build entities that will eventually compete for, and presumably one of whom will be awarded this very, very, very massive and important project. Those 4 firms have already been pre-qualified, and they're listed in the underlying RFQs that you're being asked to approve today. So with what's before the board, you will be authorizing the Bureau of Sanitation to go out with these separate RFQ packages and pre-qualify firms that will then be allowed to participate in the project for each of those individual processes that are all integral to the overall advanced water treatment process. Right. So a lot of stuff has already sort of occurred, but this is an important part of that. So those 4 pre-qualified design build entities, they need to go out and find someone to do these specific processes. This will pre-qualify the entities that will be able to work with our design build contractor for each of those specifically identified processes. I just wanted to provide that. It may have already been clear to you, and I'm just talking to myself now, but I think that what I wanted to illustrate is how these individual packages fit into the overall project.
Understood, and understood very clearly, and I got that from the beginning. I'm seeking the bigger picture, and just where we're at with the big picture on this project.
Thank you, Vice President. Thank you, Ted. Dr. Campos, I see you got your hand up.
Or just to add a little more context for Commissioner Garcia's question, I do have a couple of other on-call lists that were approved by your board back in May of 2021, very similar to these requests before you. However, that request in May of 2021 was for the LA Glendale Water Reclamation Plant, not necessarily tied to TCT. So I just wanted to distinguish that. So perhaps maybe that sounds very familiar because the reverse osmosis, the membrane filtration, and ultraviolet disinfected UVB were also approved by your board to establish on-call lists for the LA Glendale Water Reclamation Plant. That was in May of 2021. So there may be similarities there, but for a different plant. Just wanted to highlight that for you.
Thank you, Dr. Campos. Commissioner Calosa.
President Good, thank you for your presentation. I just had a clarifying question about the cost of all of this. Can you clarify how much the budget is for this RFP?
So this is RFQ, so we are just getting authorization to get the qualification at this point, so we don't have any budget on that or any estimate. This is just an authorization for us to advertise this project, so then to get the statement of qualification. So at this point, we don't have any detailed budget on this specific, or we are not issuing any information on that.
Okay, I'm just reading, I was trying to clarify because on the board report, there is a cost estimate, it says 35 million, but you're saying that's not correct?
No, that's good, because that's part of RFQ. So this step is for just qualification. We just post this one on LA Bavin to get the companies to send us the statements of qualification. And at this level, we are just trying to evaluate them, score them, and the top ones will be shortlisted for the next step when we get the bids. So when the next step is going to, we will come back to the board to get authorization to issue the bids. This board report is only for RFQs.
No, I understand that, Hamid. I was just asking what the cost was for the actual equipment that we're getting RFQs for. So it's 35 million.
Yes, then the numbers in the board, yes, that's right.
Right, I'm just trying to clarify what you're saying. That's already listed in your board report. I understand everything you're saying and what was explained. So I'm just trying to clarify that this part of the project, what we're getting an RFQ for, that $35 million, that's a portion of what was approved originally in 2013 by the PRC. I'm just trying to understand the difference between the two numbers. The 455 million that's listed in your board report, that's the overall project budget, and then this is just 35
That's part of the overall project. So the equipment of the project is part of the total cost of the project, yes.
Great, that's all I was trying to clarify. Thanks.
Thank you.
Commissioner Colosso. I think Mr. Haddad Zadigan, I think that it's clear that there's lots of interest in this. This is obviously a very, very important project in our water future for the city. Per Vice President Garcia's question or request, I think I would request that you and then some of the exec team from sanitation, Ms. Minamide, et cetera, come to present a overview briefing on Donald C. Tillman, because I empathize with Vice President Garcia's, and this has nothing to do with this report, it's all good, with Vice President Garcia's sense of like voting on lots of things about DCT in vacuums, and I think it would be a good time to step back and look big picture, which I think will be important and helpful contextually as we do get ready when y'all are ready to entertain and consider your decisions on the RFP for the design build and the meta project here. So with that, I'll motion to adopt and or move the item forward. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Any concerns or questions, Davis, Colosso, or Villegas?
None for me.
All right, hearing none, the item is adopted and approved forthwith. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, colleagues, let's go to item number 13. Item 13 is a personal services contract, heavy haul transportation services, recommending the board, 1, award a personal services contract PSC for 1 year plus 2 one-year extension options for as-needed heavy haul transportation services to Ecology Auto Parts, Inc. The total contract ceiling will be $900,000 over 3 years, up to $300,000 annually. 2, forward the proposed PSC to the mayor's office pursuant to Mayoral Executive Directive number 3 via series. And 3, authorize the president or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the personal services contract. Ms. Clements, are you here on the item? Good morning, Stephanie.
Good morning, President Good. Good morning, Commissioners. Stephanie Clements, Assistant Director, Streets LA. As President Good just said, for your consideration this morning is a recommendation to award a 1-year personal services contract with 2 one-year options to Ecology Auto Parts Incorporated for heavy haul transportation services. Streets LA utilizes a cold-in-place recycler or CIPR machine and 3 large cold milling machines to perform cold-in-place recycling, which is a street rehabilitation technique in which the existing pavement materials are reused in place on site at the actual street location. The asphalt materials are mixed in place at the job sites without the application of heat, and the reclaimed asphalt pavement, or RAP, is obtained by milling, planing, or crushing the existing pavement. CIPR machines are efficient and environmentally friendly because they save energy by not having to produce new asphalt mixes and reuse asphalt concrete in local reconstruction projects that would have traditionally been sent to landfills. These are very heavy machines and require specialized heavy hauling transportation services. And Streets LA does not have the equipment necessary to haul these machines to the various job sites in-house. Streets LA completes about 15 to 30 lane miles annually of resurfacing projects using this CIPR machine. Per the board's direction, we previously issued an RFP. We received 3 proposals, and the RFP evaluation committee overwhelmingly selected Ecology as the top vendor, which is actually a new city contractor. This is an as-needed contract, so we will only use it when needed. And in the recent past, we have issued various AFEs for heavy haul transportation services as Band-Aids until we got a contract in place. We've typically spent about $150,000 per year, but given our additional workload and additional funding sources, we proposed a 3-year total ceiling of $900,000, up to about $300,000 a year. Funding is derived from our $100 million plus pavement preservation program. I'm here to answer any questions you may have, and we also have Mr. Bob Sewell on the call, and he's our head of our street renewal division, to answer any operational or technical questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Clements. President Pro Tem Davis, any questions?
Yes, let's see. What is the timeline for this one, Stephanie? Can you hear me?
Yes, the timeline for the project.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's really an as needed when we need it. So we, based on Bob Sewell's schedule of when we do these various CIPR projects, we will call that vendor at that time to say, hey, we need you today, or we need you for this project. So presuming that this contractor works out, it could be up to 3 years that we would utilize this vendor services.
And so, in fact, it's only this very one vendor that we are considering in this motion. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, our expenditures haven't been that high in the past, only $150,000 out of like $100 million program. So it didn't really make sense for us to have multiple vendors.
Got it.
So we just have one.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, President Davis. Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, President Good. Stephanie, good report, like always, very thorough. Is Ecology the only contractor that has this type of machinery that can do this type of work for us?
Well, we did receive 3 proposals, so
Okay.
we do know there's other vendors out there. And actually, the company that we used to do AFEs with, they also can provide that service, but they didn't provide a proposal. We were actually a little bit surprised about that. So I guess we know of at least maybe 4 contractors that can perform this service. There's probably not that many because it's really heavy haul equipment. I don't know if Bob has anything to add about what the industry is.
No, not really, Steph. It's a select few that buys that type of equipment.
Understood. And okay, I'm gonna ask probably a dumb question, but I just need to kind of see the big picture on this. So this is for cool pavement, right? This is specifically just for cool pavement mixture, or is just all around? That was not my dumb question, by the way. I have a dumb question.
They're dumb questions, and I'll pass it on to the expert because I'm not an expert. But actually, this is not for cool pavement.
Okay.
This is for our resurfacing and reconstruction projects where we mix the asphalt on site instead of having to go to an asphalt plant to do so. Bob, did you want to add anything in there?
I thought I read something about cool pavement in the board report. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well,
No.
yeah.
It has nothing to do with cold pavement. So basically, our CIR machine, cold in place recycling machine, is basically a specialized unit that's very large that we don't have the equipment at this time to move. We also have 2 other profilers that fall into that category. So that's why we need this contract. But no, it's not a cool pave. It's for specific, basically 3 specific pieces of equipment we have.
Okay. Okay, then I'll reserve my other dumb question I was gonna ask until we talk about cool pavement. Because I thought I had read something about cool pavement in this report. Maybe I read another report, but so this is for kind of our regular resurfacing out in the street that we normally do, right?
Correct.
Okay, got it. Are we? And I guess this is the overall question: is the direction of Bureau Street Services to install more cool pavements around the city to move to that route, or do we want to continue doing, which I know there's, in order to kind of change things around, we would have to do a transition. But would we then, is the direction of BSS trying to go that route, that anytime we have to now redo or research, we'll go with cool pavement, or do we still are going to continue to do how we've always kind of done it before in the past?
So Cool Pave is completely different than our resurfacing program. So basically, it's just a coating we're putting over for urban cooling. So it has nothing to do with our resurfacing-based program. So these pieces of equipment have nothing to really do with that. But I do know that this year with Mr. Greg Spots, we did an additional $4 million project for Cool Paving, which is, I want to say, 20 city blocks. So we've actually upped what we're doing this year than we ever have before. I don't know if that answers your question.
It does. It gives me more perspective on the cool pavement, and I understand that there's two different things, and I'm sorry for mixing them. I was just trying to figure out kind of if that's the direction I'm going, but it sounds like it's almost like a pilot or a piece of program that we're still trying to test out and make sure that it works for the city. Got it.
Yeah, we're piloting, but yeah, I
Commissioners, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Not the
This
right
has
one.
nothing to do with the agenda item. So I'm
Exactly.
happy to have some background, but if we want to have a report on how many blocks we're going to do, how cool pavement works, any of that, we just put it on the agenda. This is not it. Sorry.
I got that,
Keep
Ted.
going.
Thank you. That's really all for me. I was just trying to figure out where we were on those two separate fronts. But thank you, Stephanie, for your report. In ecology auto parts is the one new city contractor that we're going for, but there's another ecology contractor doing another type of business, right?
I do have to apologize. I misspoke because you're right. Sanitation does have a contract with ecology. I'm sorry
so.
I said that. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
No. It could be two different contractors because it sounds like this one has auto parts in
No,
it.
it's the same. I thought I was going to be excited to tell you we have a new contractor, but yes, they do have a contract through sanitation and through this board. I apologize for that.
Okay. No. Thank you for making it clear. That's all for me, President Good.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Commissioner Coloso.
Thank you, President Good. Thank you for your presentation, Ms. Clements and Mr. Sewell. So just to clarify really quickly on the last point, so this is Ecology that does some of our work with LA Sanitation. That is the same contractor as Ecology Auto Parts. My understanding was that they're different, but I just wanted to clarify that.
So I wasn't involved in the sanitation contract, but I know when I was reviewing this report and talking to staff and talking to ConAd that there was another contract with Ecology. So I can report back to you on that. I apologize. I don't have that much information about the sanitation contract.
Okay, no problem. I just wanted to clarify since I had just got confused there for a second because I thought they're different. But yeah, if you can just confirm afterward, but I don't think it is relevant to what's before us. I will say thank you to Streets LA for your work on transitioning this from AFE to a contract. So congratulations. I know that was a lot of work. I'm sorry you didn't get any local businesses that responded, but hopefully over time, since these are just 1-year contracts, right? It's a short contract, essentially 3 years in duration. That the next time you do an RFP for this, that more people will respond. The questions that I had was around any requirements that we set for Ecology in terms of their vehicle that they're going to be using to haul. Is it like an electric or CNG? Since obviously, they're hauling all of our equipment. It says in the board report, right, like up to as far as 50 miles. So that's a lot. And you guys are ripping and roaring across the city, as we see from your Friday board reports. Are there any requirements that we're making to them in terms of what kind of vehicles that they're using?
I can answer that, Steph, if you like.
Yes, please.
So basically, CNG and electric vehicles aren't at the capability yet to be able to tow those type of vehicles, including our move trucks are on the same board. That's why through AQMD we still have diesel move trucks because the technology is not there yet to tow that capacity.
Okay,
So even if we required it, it would sit in the yard because nobody has that capability for electric CNG or any one of those other natural gases or anything.
got it. Okay. Hopefully, when this contract expires, that's a new industry maybe that will happen in terms of more environmentally friendly vehicles to haul this large heavy equipment. But I just wanted to clarify because I know that we're transitioning so much of our fleet, especially on the LA Sand side, to electric and CNG, and even also in streets LA.
We've been looking into the technologies. It's just not there yet. We're continuously, every year we look for it.
Got it. And I guess the last question I had was, and you may have already said this already, but we've used Ecology already, right, in the past? Or is this the first time we're using them specifically for this type of contract with Streets LA?
So this is the first time the Bureau of Street Services is contracting out with Ecology. That's how I should have said it.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying that. Okay. I don't think I have any more questions. Look forward to seeing how the work progresses, and hopefully we will see more technology in terms of the vehicles in the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Calosa. Commissioner Villegas?
Thank you. I appreciate my colleagues' questions. I think they're valid, and I also think that if our commissioners want to ask for more context, I think that that is a valid point to make. We are approving constantly different types of contracts, and sometimes we just need context. Thank you, Streets LA, for providing additional information. As Commissioner Garcia was asking, I was looking through my videos and stuff so she can see how large these machines actually are and have just a scale for perspective. And so I think that that is really important as commissioners. I mean, this is our job to ask these questions. Look, I realize that we have 18 items on our agenda and we want to get through them quickly, but I do think that it is important for all of us to be able to ask our questions, and apologize, we don't need to, but we should be able to ask our questions with that freedom. I'm mentioning that because I feel that Commissioner Garcia was just, asking a line of questions just to get more perspective. So thanks, Streets LA, for having that patience to be able to give that. I don't have any questions on this specific project. I'm familiar. Obviously, I'm the liaison for Streets LA. I know how big these are. I know that our street sweepers are starting to get to electric. These are a process. These machines weigh tons. They're huge, so the technology is definitely not there yet. It's not to say that it won't come, but it takes some time. That is all for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas, and agreed very much. So I'm surprised. I do want to just ask one clarifying question also. So there are no LNG or CNG trucks even that are able to do this.
No. So we've been looking into it for years, even when we went to the first CNG vehicles. The technology isn't there even on our own move trucks. Every year we're required the same thing, to look out for the technologies there, and they just don't have the capability to tow that type of weight. So neither electronic or CNG have the capabilities at this time to tow that capacity.
That's unfortunate. So we're stuck with diesel.
It's a very few trucks that we actually have, which are the move trucks. Almost everything else we have besides the fuel truck has converted, and we are looking at new electric vehicles now too. So like I said, we're continually looking to upgrade the fleets and to be more green and get the carbon out of the air. So like I said, every year we're looking for those.
Thank you, Mr. Sewell. Thank you, Ms. Clements. All right, I'm good. I would echo Commissioner Colosa's congratulations on getting this out of the AFE world. And I'll take a motion to approve the item.
So move.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Any concerns, Davis or Closa?
No concerns for me.
Okay. Hearing none, the item is adopted and approved forthwith. Thank you, Ms. Clements. Thank you, Mr. Sewell.
Thank you.
All right. Item 14. Item 14 is personal services contracts, pre-qualified on-call appraisal consultants, and full-service right-of-way consultants. Recommending the board, 1, approve and forward this report with transmittals to the mayor requesting that he approve and authorize the president or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the personal services contracts between the City of Los Angeles and the pre-qualified on-call appraisal consultants and the PQOC full-service right-of-way consultants, and together with appraisal consultants as the consultants, as, quote, the consultants, end quote. The consultants will provide as-needed services for various Department of Public Works projects. The consultants are listed below. 2, request that the board randomly select the names of the consultants to create the initial consultants list for use in assignments of work. And 3, request the board to waive the local business preference program in the best interest of the city. Mr. Jimenez, are you? I know you're here repping BOE, but are you also you're on this item, I assume?
Yes, thank you.
All right, please proceed, sir.
So thank you very much, Udi Jimenez, Chief Real Estate Officer for the Bureau of Engineering. And I'm here to ask the board to approve the contracts for 11 appraisal consultants and 7 full right-of-way consultants. So this has been a long time in coming. We've been working on this for years. Most of the work that we do is very specialized, even in the real estate world. Right-of-way appraisal work is very specialized, and so is the real estate public right-of-way acquisition is also very specialized. And what we did a couple of years ago in 2018, we went out with an RFQ, and we had 42 interested parties download the appraisal consultant, and out of those 42, 12 actually submitted SOQs, and 69 right-of-way consultants downloaded, and only 7 actually applied. And we reviewed all of them, and we evaluated both the appraisal SOQs and the full-service right-of-way SOQs, and approved all of them as being qualified to do the work that we need to have done. And so we ended up with a list that we have in here in front of you. The intention is to rotate them all, and so we're asking the board to select them so that we could have a random list, and from a random list from which we will award future contracts or tasks. And this work is in terms of outreach, we did the normal outreach through LA Bavin. We support the council offices in terms of advertising. We sought out professional organizations to try to get as many people to apply. But as I said, it's so specialized that we rarely get a lot of submittals, and we accepted all of them that actually submitted the work as qualified. We know most of these companies, especially on the appraisal side. We've done work with some or all of them. We have more new ones in the full service realm. We know and have used and worked with a couple of them. but what we find is that we're finding the larger full-service contractors coming in from out of state and establishing local offices. So I don't know if it's a trend that there's so much work in LA. Metro uses these consultants a lot. And part of the reason that we think that we didn't get as many people is because they're so busy with other contracts. LAWA has a multi-billion-dollar project. Metro uses a lot of these consultants, and it's a challenge to find qualified consultants that actually know how to do this work. And so we're hoping that this list will be able to support us for all our upcoming projects. This is an as-needed contract for both of them. In the past, we've had up to 16 people in our division that do right-of-way work. We're down to 6 at the moment. And so the need for outside consultant is greater now than ever. And we're hoping to get this approved by the board. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Jimenez. Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you. I appreciate your report. And Mr. Jimenez, I didn't want to call you Yuri.
You can call me anything you want, as long as you don't call me late for dinner.
Thank you for your report. It was comprehensive. Just a quick question. The right-of-way consultants, is this just mainly for design work? Is that what they're going to be doing? Apologize for the beeping. I cannot fix my fire alarms and my carbon monoxide alarms.
When we get involved, the right-of-way folks, we get involved sometimes in the pre-design phase to find like fatal flaws. If we're going to take like a church, a hospital, a cemetery, a lot of times, engineers think in straight lines, right? But it's not always the most practical way to complete a project. So we get involved in the pre-design phase to identify potential fatal flaws and say, well, if you don't acquire this property or, a small corner of this property, we would save a lot of time and headaches and costs in possibly having to condemn properties. So we get involved in that part of it, the pre-design phase. And then in the design phase, we start to acquire property. So we would hire folks in the design phase when we already have an idea or know what right-of-way is required for the project. So that's when real estate gets involved. We acquire property, we relocate folks if needed, and we appraise the property, make offers. All of that real estate acquisition and relocation happens during the design phase. But we do get involved in pre-design.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I don't have further questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, President Good. Mr. Jimenez, I want to touch on that point you discussed of, and I know that's not what we are approving right now, but I do want to ask these questions. Mr. Jimenez, you said that there's now a trend that you're seeing that companies from outside of the state are coming and kind of locating themselves here and establishing their business here in order to submit bids to the city of LA. I guess this is more of a BCA question. Do we have a requirement under the local business preference program that states that this company or this business has been established in the city of LA for a so amount of time, a year, 2 years? Is that part of the equation?
So we would look at it not necessarily. When it gets to us, we look at it as a local business preference program, and we would give them like an 8% bump on the evaluation, right?
Okay.
I don't know how the local program preference, the local business preference program is organized, and if that's a condition, right? Whether they have to be established in LA for X amount of time. But for us, in this particular case, just so you know, it didn't apply because we pretty much accepted all of the applicants. And once we evaluated and found that they were all qualified, they didn't need that 8% bump when they were qualified.
I understood. Yeah, maybe that's probably a BCA question, and I don't know if we have anybody from BCA here. If not, I'll follow up on that question after. And I get it that these are all kind of new consultants. Are they all new, or do we have any repeating ones?
So on the real estate side, most of them are repeats. We know them. A couple of them are not. The Door Group I've never worked with, but the rest I've worked with. On the full service consultants, we work directly with 2 of them, and the rest of them we've worked with them indirectly with a couple of them, and 3 of them for sure are new that I haven't worked with, and I haven't seen the city work with those new companies that, like I said, some are coming from out of state and establishing local offices.
Interesting. Interesting too. That I'm glad you brought that point, and maybe that's something that we should kind of look at and see if that's impacting any of our local businesses, and if that's taking away some of those businesses that are really established here in the city of LA. So yeah, we'll follow up with. Oh, Angela has a hands up. Angela.
Good morning, Angela Martinez, representing BCA. Commissioner Garcia, could you repeat your question and I'll follow up with it if I don't have the answer?
Sure. Thank you, Angela, for being here and for raising your hand. I was asking if the local business preference program has a requirement or a criteria that it asks that businesses be established in the city of LA for a so amount of time. You know, whether it be a year, 2 years, 6 months. Is there any type of criteria around that to be able to submit and get certified as a local business?
I believe there is, but I can't guarantee that, but I'll follow up with Chris Jensen with BCA. And do you want me to email you the answer?
Yes, that would be great. Thank you, Angela.
I promise I will.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jimenez. I appreciate your time and your answers, and I look forward in helping you continue to work with these consultants.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. President Pro Tem Davis?
Yeah, I don't have any major questions about the motion before us. However, Commissioner Garcia raised an issue as it relates to local preference program. What I wanted to know from BCA, if they are still here, is there any requirement of us on local programs, on the local designation as it relates to federal programs?
Wow, this is a tough question session here.
Commissioner, I can answer that.
Good.
By the way, all the questions on this local business thing, they're all very good. Commissioner Garcia, I don't believe there's a.
If we can, I'd just like Ms. Martinez to take a quick whack, and then let's jump back.
Okay.
Thank you. I cannot say for sure I believe so, but I don't want to tell you something that I'm incorrect. So that's why I'm going to follow up with Mr. Jensen. He's the expert.
Not a problem. And then I guess Ted had something to say, Greg.
Yeah.
Well, for most federal contracts, this city is not allowed to apply local preferences. It's just simply not allowed. There may be some exceptions.
That's what
the
I
source
thought.
of the local funding.
That's what I thought. Okay. And let's see what the other data comes back with as well. But I was under the impression of that based upon the philosophy of our federal policies. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Calosa.
Thank you, President Good, and thanks to my colleagues for your great questions. I don't have any questions for Mr. Jimenez on this. Mr. Jimenez is in the real estate team, get involved on all sorts of projects that you may not necessarily think about when you think of our real estate division, right? From the 6th Street project to street widening to street improvement projects. they're involved in so much of it. And so these are critical consultants to help augment a lot of the work that is ongoing and ramping up, quite frankly, for the city. So really important list. And I don't have any questions for you, Mr. Hernandez, but thank you to the real estate team and to yourself for your work on this.
Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Mr. Hernandez, I do have one question, and forgive me because I know we've talked a lot about the local business preference, but not relative to the qualification process. Can you just explain again, why are y'all requesting that we waive the local business preference program relative to this process?
So, effectively, through the application process, we rated all of them, and we came up with a score. So, like if one company submitted and they needed a score of 90, and they had 85, if they qualified under that local business program, they would get 8 points. So then they would qualify where they wouldn't, right? So they would get to 93. In this case, because we accepted all of them as qualified, it wouldn't even apply. We didn't exclude anybody. So we're saying that it didn't apply in this case. So effectively, the process waived it, and we're asking the board to affirmatively say that.
I see. So we could have just as easily not waived it, and you could have applied it, and you're going
Correct.
to have the same list. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'm fine with that. So at this point, we don't need to do we're not pulling the list yet. You're going to actually deal with the contract, or we're going to get the contracts. We're going to execute the contracts, and then you're going to come back and we're going to pull the list, or do we need to do that today?
We're doing that today.
We are doing that today. Okay. Great. All right. So do I have a motion to approve the item, and then if approved, we'll go forward with the list?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Closer. Do I have a second?
Second.
2 seconds, Garcia and Davis.
Here to Garcia.
Okay, good. Garcia is second. Any concerns, Davis or Villegas?
No concerns for me.
All right, hearing none, the item is adopted forthwith. Dr. Campos, I assume I'll see you over here?
Yes, give me 30 seconds. I'll be there.
You can have even more if you need.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right.
Your accomplice executive officer. Give me the drawings. We're going to go ahead and do the drawing for the appraisal consultants. There's 11 in total. Mr. President, would you like to draw and name? Or call out the name?
Sure, of course. All right. First vendor or consultant, Nagasaki and Associates. Thank you, sir. Second up, Cushman and Wakefield. Third up, the Door Group, Inc., D-O-R-E. Yes, sir. Fourth up, Valentine Appraisal and Associates. Take it, they'll take off February 14th. That was ridiculous, I'm sorry. Next up, Norris Realty Advisors. Next up, Overland Pacific and Cutler LLC. Next up, Desmond Marcello and Amster LLC. Next up, Epic Land Solutions, Inc. Next up, Integra Realty Resources. Next, Pacific Real Estate Consultants.
Last one.
Last one. Curtis Rosenthal, Inc.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just really quick for the on-call list for the order for the appraisal consultants, the order shall be number 1, Nagasaki, number 2, Cushman and Wakefield, apologies. Number 3, the Door Group, number 4, Valentine Appraisal, number 5, Norris Realty Advisors, number 6, Overland Pacific and Cutler, number 7, Desmond Marcello Amster, number 8, Epic Land Solutions, number 9, Integra Realty Resources, number 10, Pacific Real Estate Consultant, and number 11, Curtis Rosenthal, Inc. Thank you, Mr. President, for doing the drawings. Again, this is subject to the mayor's approval. For Executive Directive number 3, we will now begin to draw the order for the right-of-way consultants. There are 7 in total. Mr. President, if you can do the honors one more time.
Absolutely. Mr. Jimenez, and I know I read this, how long, what's the term of these contracts?
5 years.
5 years, okay. First up, sorry.
5 years? This may have to go to council if it's 5 years. Mr. Jordan, if you can hear me. Term of the contracts is 5 years. I believe this will be subject to mayor and city council approval.
For an on-call list?
I'm going to look at the code now. I don't think it does, but let me take a look at that. There is a category of public works contracts approved by this board that relate to the capital improvement projects that do not go to the city council unless they're more than 5 years.
That is correct. If these consultants support capital infrastructure improvement projects, then the board has 5-year approval.
Yes.
So get a confirmation from Mr. Jimenez that all the work to be done under these lists will be capital related.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Good. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Jimenez. Thank you, Dr. Campos. Thank you, Mr. Jordan. All right, first up on the right-of-way list is Overland Pacific and Cutler LLC.
Only one.
Second, Property Specialist Inc., aka CPSI. Next up, Tierra West Advisors Inc. Next up, Paragon Partners Limited. Next up, HDR Engineering Inc. Next up, Briggs Field Services Inc. Last one, Dawkin Engineering.
Thank you, Mr. President, for pulling those names. The order really quick for recap for the right-of-way consultants, 7 in total. Number 1, Overland Pacific and Cutler. Property Specialists, 3, Tierra West Advisors, 4, 5, HDR Engineering, 6, Briggs Field Services, and number 7, Dawkin Engineering. Mr. President, thank you for drawing those and pulling them in. When that completes the order of vote list for today, we will send this item to the mayor for his.
Thank you, Dr. Campos. We close out the list with Dcta Engineering invoking great 80s metal band that some of you may remember. See a laugh from Mr.
Flashback.
Don Dawkins. That's right. Okay, so we're all good there. Thank you very much, Mr. Jimenez. You have lists, and we look forward to seeing the contracts. Okay.
Thank you. Have a good rest of your day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jimenez. Enjoy your palace. Okay. Next up, item number 15. Item number 15 is a stop notice, Simco Mechanical Inc. Simco Mechanical Inc. is transmitting a stop notice in the amount of $31,990.45 for furnish, install labor, and materials for HVAC system for OHL USA Inc. in connection with the Argo Drain Subbasin Facility Project. C-131878, communication number 122520, filed on September 29th, 2021. Do I have a motion to accept this stop? Or we don't vote on this, do we, Dr. Campos?
You actually do vote on this. No presenter.
Do I have a motion to move this forward, this stop notice?
So moved. Second.
Okay, I got a motion from Villegas, second from Closa. Any concerns or objections, Garcia or Davis?
No objections or concerns from me.
All right. Hearing none, the item is adopted. The stop notice is adopted and approved forthwith. Item 16, also a stop notice communication from South Bay Steel Erectors. South Bay Steel Erectors is transmitting a stop notice in the amount of $143,924 for labor and equipment for Stark Inc., and a parent subcontractor in connection with the North Hollywood Sewer Maintenance Yard, for which the primary contractor is Ford EC Inc. C-135266, communication number 122519, filed on September 29, 2021. Do I have a motion to accept?
Accept. So move.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Wait, who was that? Wait, do I get a second from Villegas?
Garcia.
It was both, but either way.
Oh.
I got seconds from Villegas and Garcia, Dr. Campos. Any concerns, Calosa? All right, hearing none, the item is adopted forthwith. All right, let's, I know item 18 has been continued. Item 17 is our Climate Emergency Mobilization Office 6-month brief. Let's take a 5-minute recess so everyone's fully focused. We will report back at 11:55 in the a.m. And Ms. Segura, we will see you then.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Campos. Do we have quorum?
Yep. Just give me about 5 seconds to confirm the secondary recording. Perfect. Mr. President, you are now in record mode. Would you like me to establish quorum?
Yes, please, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. 11:57 a.m. for today, Wednesday, October 6, 2021. The board is now reconvened. We have President Good, Vice President Garcia, President Pro Tem Davis, and Commissioners Calosa and Villegas. President Good, you do have a quorum.
Thank you. Dr. Campos, I think Ms. Martinez from BCA had a question for you.
Sorry to bother you, Dr. Campos. Linda McGlinchey is on the phone, and she has answers for the commissioners regarding local business.
Okay, so Mr. President, my understanding, if you would like to reopen an item, we can call it back into the record and then reopen it, listen to the commentaries from Ms. McGlinchey. and then close it out again. Or if you would prefer, I can have Ms. McGlinchey send me the responses to those questions that were posed by the commissioners, and then I can forward those responses to all commissioners via email.
We really need to open up the item to get her comments real quick.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Sorry. Ms. McGlinchey, can you please plan to send written responses? Excuse me. Is Ms. McGlinchey there?
Let me just double check one thing, Mr. President.
Ms. Martinez, can you ask Ms. McGlinchey if she would mind just circulating written responses to those?
Yes, sir. Was it agenda item, I want to say 12?
Oh, you're testing my memory, Ms. Martinez. I think it was
It was
14.
14, yes.
Thank you both.
Yeah. Thank you. Ready, Dr. Campos, or we still?
Yeah, I was just going to open up the communication line for Ms. McGlinchey, but I was just waiting for you. I'm in co-host mode, so I can't see everyone at this time. But would you like me to open up the communication, or just have Ms. McGlinchey send me the email?
No. I asked Ms. Martinez if she would ask Ms. McGlinchey to circulate responses. So we're all good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, item number 17, Climate Emergency Mobilization Office, 6-month briefing from the Climate Emergency Mobilization Office. Our director of the Climate Emergency Mobilization Office, Marta Segura, is with us this morning. Actually, this afternoon.
Yes, right here.
Good afternoon, Ms. Segura.
Good afternoon, and thank you, President Good, Vice President Garcia, honorable commissioners, and for inviting me to chat with you about our 6 months of progress for the Climate Emergency Mobilization Office. As you all know well by now, that I'm the founding director for this office, and the only reason that I state that is because I think it's important for the public who may watch this in the future to understand that we were launched in mid-February, but didn't really officially have our office set up, et cetera, until March, but we've been moving quite quickly. I'd like to go over the background and the items that I'd like to cover today. First, I'd like to do the introduction and talk about our partnerships, our priorities, some of our timeline, our accomplishments, and then a recap on our next steps, and then go to questions and answers. And I'll try to be brief, but it hopefully I'll won't take up too much of your time. Anyway, yes.
If I could just interject, and I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
I'm not sure if this is you or Dr. Campos. Do you want to close out the meta screen and just have the presentation? Because right now what we've got all the slides. We've also got your notes.
Okay. Let me try to do that right now. I think if I do that, I can't see you, but I guess that's going to be okay as long as you can see me.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, there you go. Okay, great. All right. So, again, founding director. I just wanted you to have a little bit of my background, and this is for the public as well. I was a first of all, I'm the director, but we found out through the ordinance that I'm also the executive director for the Climate Emergency Mobilization Commission, and we're all finding out what that means relatively soon. I have a pretty good idea because I've been discussing with other executive directors of commissions at the City of Los Angeles to ensure that when we build the capacity of our commission, that is all laid out and as per the charter. I'm also a former LA City Planning Commissioner, where we really focused on the passing of the first sustainability plan of Clean Up, Green Up, Healthy LA, Recode LA, our first Equity Day. So as you all know, the current LA Green New Deal is like a new iteration of the original sustainability plan that we passed when I was the planning commissioner. And over time, I've just really been focused on environmental health and environmental justice as a community engagement practitioner for equitable strategies and partnerships. And I've been in the field of environmental and environmental justice since 1995. I have this visual up just to say that we're basically, Simo is a new office within the Board of Public Works, and the first few stages are the forming stages, then what we call the storming stages, and then the norming stages. So we had to really form our office first, and we're still really getting that together as we hire new staff. I have the first staff member probably starting October 12th, I think that's the date. And then we're going to be hiring a management analyst, and we need to interview for the management analyst that will be focused mostly on policy and research. So that means that we are in a little bit of the forming, some of the storming, which means we're getting to know all the policies and the protocols and establishing the office within the Board of Public Works. And then we're doing some normalizing because we're also making progress on the initiatives, the programs, and objectives. But I think we'll really get to the performing and transforming stages once we get more towards the end of the year and the beginning of next year, when we are executing our community assemblies, executing the workshops, and the commission has been launched. So I wanted to go over real briefly what the vision is. We're dedicated to building a very collaborative, innovative, and intersectional office that creates equitable climate solutions with both internal and external partners, meaning we're here to ensure that with the bureaus and the departments, we're not replicating what they're doing, we're not duplicating what they're doing, but we're here to provide a new innovative perspective on how to include communities and their voices as we shape policy. So our hope is to align with like Justice 40, the Biden administration's vision of investing federal dollars into marginalized communities and creating equity metrics and equitable climate action as we move forward, and to be as supportive as we possibly can to the city as they move forward with those similar goals. And I just wanted to put up why social equity is part of our lens and how we plan to look at that. And you should know that the LA 100 equity strategy is also using these value systems or metrics or methods. We look at equity from a procedural and a distributional and a structural perspective. Who is being impacted? Who is being engaged? What types of policies and investments are being allocated in their direction? Distributional is who bears the cost. What kind of data analysis do we need in order to fairly distribute and redistribute those benefits and burdens and prioritize where those allocations are going in order to reduce the greatest inequities? And then there's structural equity or structural justice. Are we open to shifting those priorities and correcting the imbalances that we currently have? Will we commit to correct past harms and prevent future unintended consequences? So these are big questions that every government agency is asking themselves, not just the city of Los Angeles. And in order to get that done, we really need to look at how we intervene and develop and implement those policies and how we measure them. And there's been various examples and studies now that just by going green doesn't guarantee we're going to have the climate solution that we need or the equitable solutions that we need. In fact, studies have been done when we go green without considering those forms of equity and justice. We can actually displace individuals, we can harm the economy, and we want to make sure that as we move forward and as we green our city, that we're not just displacing more individuals. And this, unfortunately, is something, again, that's happened across the nation. It's not just specific to Los Angeles, but it is something that has happened before. We have created unintended consequences when we don't have that equity lens. And I just wanted to reiterate that President Biden and Mayor Garcetti have very specific and targeted goals for equitable climate investments. We are in discussions right now with other city leaders on how Justice 40 can possibly be implemented here in the city of Los Angeles. And as you all know, Justice 40 is an initiative and a screening tool to ensure that the federal investments for infrastructure, 40% of those go into the most affected and impacted communities. They're called EJ communities, frontline communities. In California, we have what's called Enviroscreen, which is actually the most sophisticated tool nationwide in order to look at both socioeconomic factors and environmental burdens to determine which communities have been most drastically impacted by pollution burdens. So moving forward, so the overarching purpose is to align our goals with the Green New Deal and prioritize policies set forth by the mayor and the city council to address the imminent threats to our health and the habitability of LA. We want to help to identify with other bureaus, departments, and policymakers and enact equitable strategies and policies. So identify and enact equitable strategies and policies. We want to make sure that we bring a strong voice into that policy that comes from the communities. And we are all, experimenting with this innovative governance model via the commission that will be launched by both the mayor and the council, hopefully in a couple of weeks. This is a unique feature of our office. No other office has a commission like we do, and the reason that it was established and it was in the ordinance is so that it can be a voice of the community that speaks to and helps advise the council and the mayor through its facilitator, which would be me, the executive director. So it's an interesting new model that we are all shaping together, but that's why it was created, in order to directly advise the council and the mayor. The representation on it, we'll talk about that a little bit more later, but basically it's representing youth, it's representing labor, it's also representing the frontline communities, it's representing indigenous communities. So it's going to be a very representative and diverse commission. And these are our core functions. We want to create meaningful engagement and civic-led governance strategies for equitable climate policies. We want to track and monitor climate policies in the city of Los Angeles. And we want to make sure that we're using baseline equity metrics that fit across the city. We want to coordinate and collaborate with city leaders to bring the equity lens to LA's Green New Deal and engage and mobilize communities to innovate that governance. I've already said this. I'm the executive director and also the facilitator of the commission. And of course, our ultimate goal in the next year or so is to deliver an equitable climate action roadmap. And that roadmap is going to be created. I think I have a graph coming up soon. This is just the ordinance. I'll talk about the graph later, but basically we want to create a roadmap that will not be its own policy, but help operationalize the Green New Deal with more of an equity lens. Here's our ordinance for the commission. That a last minute change that was made by the council was that it must represent the top 10 pollution burden segment of Los Angeles through the screening tool Enviroscreen. And it was passed on July 21st, 2021. And a complex part of our office is that we navigate internal and external core partnerships. So the commission that we will facilitate, of course, we will report to the Board of Public Works, report to the mayor, report to the council offices. Community-led dialogues and mobilizations will also help inform and shape the policies that we present to the Climate Emergency Commission. So there's a lot of internal navigation. And this doesn't even include the bureaus and the departments that I've been establishing relationships with to see how we can work together, submit proposals together, but more importantly, help them see how Simo can be a complement to their work in the community engagement aspect. And I didn't want to go on without saying that Simo's origins included this coalition, the Leap LA Coalition, and it was a group of environmental justice and social justice organizations that not just address environment, but also tenant rights and social equity. So CBE, SCOPE, Poema Beautiful, Esperanza Community Housing, the American Indian Movement, and PSRLA were part of that. And in addition to them, we are also partnering, of course, with the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance, and Liberty Hill is one of our major partners that's helping us execute our community assemblies. And here they are. I briefly wanted to say that we are submitting a proposal to this organization that executed the Cool City Challenge, and the NCSA, the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance, is a big partner for that. We're also collaborating with UCLA and USC, the World Resources Institute, and perhaps the University of Pennsylvania. We're in discussion right now so that they could provide technical assistance to the Climate Emergency Mobilization Office. And then this just restates some of our priorities in terms of our curriculum, right? We wanted to make sure that our curriculum reflected the policies that the City of LA and LADWP are currently embarking on and are hopefully in the short term or near term going to set forth in council. So the first one is LA 100, the first one we'll tackle is the building decarbonization curriculum. Then after that, we'll tackle LA 100, LA's energy plan. And then we'll tackle climate resilience in that order. And then we're going to integrate just transition into each of those thematic areas as we execute the workshops and the curriculum for each one of those. And I just wanted to add cumulative air emissions as an issue area that's going to come up in all of our discussions because as you know, that our climate office is focused on zero carbon and decarbonization, but there are other air emissions that we can address as we address LA's Green New Deal that are of great concern to the community members and the city. So briefly, I wanted to talk about our short-term and midterm goals. So this is in the past, the first 0 to 6 months, I've been learning, Simo's been learning and adapting to our budget process, our contracts process, our hiring and personnel process, setting up office space, technology and ITA training, staffing requests and authorizations, of course, all with the support of the Board of Public Works and the Executive Office. We couldn't have done any of this without their support. And in this next 6 to 18 months, we're going to continue to develop our learning curve for what we started in the 0 to 6 months, but we will also add to that grant development, staffing development plans, branding, website communications, program plan, program integration, and the integration of our commission. We are hopefully going to be interviewing for the admin clerk that will support the commission, the Climate Emergency Mobilization Commission in the near future, as well as a policy management analyst that will support the policy work that we are kind of passing on through the community assemblies to the commission. So we want to have somebody there that helps to not just work with our policy issues, but also responds to requests for reports from the commission. For example, there's one right now, 210450. It's asked Simo to look at how it can help to improve upon the greenhouse gas emissions accounting. If I were to do all of that work on my own and respond to all of the reports on my own, I don't think we would ever get there. So that's why the policy management analyst will be key to our work. In terms of programmatic short and midterm goals, we are in the process of designing our curriculum. We've almost completed the building decarbonization curriculum, which will inform the format and the process for the curriculum in the other areas. We've done a landscape analysis of City of LA climate and environmental justice policies to determine the areas of priority to share with the community through the community assemblies, identified community-driven policy priorities through focus groups and conversations with the community and community leaders. We are in the process of designing our logo, look and feel, and our branding. I went through the course supervisor training, which was extremely helpful. And we and Liberty Hill are now a team, and we meet on a weekly basis. In the next 6 to 18 months, we're going to launch our commission, draft an engagement strategy, design the other curriculums for the Just Transition, LA 100, Climate Resilience, launch our community assemblies, design and launch the website, hire the rest of the programmatic staff, and launch an equitable climate action roadmap, and launch the Cool City Challenge. And I think this is just something that I wanted to share with you. Basically, there's 4 areas of curriculum, right? The building decarb, climate resilience, LA 100, and Just Transition. Those will go into working groups and create a report with those CBOs and experts, and those individual reports for those individual areas will then be transitioned to the commission, right? So the commission will receive those reports from the community assemblies once the working group and the experts have massaged them into recommendations and findings. The orange area there is just telling you that for each issue area, we're going to meet at least 3 times with the community to gather that data, to do the community and awareness building. And then we hope we'll have more meaningful engagement through the commission, through the committees, that will then create this equitable climate action roadmap, right? So I know it's a little convoluted, but basically we're going to go through a very methodical process to ensure that the recommendations and findings for each of these policy areas is well thought out before we present it to our commission and before the commission creates a roadmap through those policy areas. So some of our accomplishments, we were able to get $500,000 allocated. It's in the UB right now, but we were able to get $500,000 allocated for community initiatives and community engagement, and that's the amount that's part of the amount that's going to Liberty Hill. We also had $175K allocated for contractual services. The Liberty Hill contract was finalized. We have a website design firm in place, and we have already begun to work with them. ITA will support the development of that website, so we're very grateful to ITA. And we have UCLA Climate Action Fellows who have been doing great research for Simo. These are just the staff that were approved by the budget. Of course, you have me. We just hired one of the management analysts as a management assistant. She should be starting October 12th, but I'm eager to hire the next management analyst and the admin clerk. And we also have these other resources, right? UCLA has granted us a doctoral student to work on a research project with Simo. The UCLA Luskin Center has contributed a master's student to do a capstone project for Simo. And then we had 2 summer California Climate Action Corps fellows last year. And what they created was an ArcGIS map of the top 10% communities that are affected by pollution burdens and socioeconomic factors. And I can pass on that presentation to y'all, or we can have that presentation at another time. We also did an ArcGIS map of orphaned oil wells, and the students are still working on that with somebody from the Bureau of Engineers. We have a very extensive climate policy archives that really focus on equitable climate policy archives. Basically, other cities have passed climate equity plans, or have passed equitable decarbonization policies, and we were able to gather all of the most relevant ones that are big city examples and take a look at those so that we could share those with council as they move forward in developing those types of policies. And this is just a snapshot of the Simo Enviroscreen Fellowship Project, where she was able to break it down by neighborhood council area. So we've given this tool not just to the mayor's office for determining who to appoint for commissioners. It was useful for that, but we've also given it to the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance as they target and grow the Sustainability Alliance to include the most affected areas of Los Angeles, or the most pollution burdened areas of Los Angeles. And it'll help educate those neighborhood councils that they are within that top 10% burdened community. And we hope that it will engage those neighborhood council members and neighborhood council Sustainability Alliance leadership to focus on how together we can address and shape these policies. I'm in the process of collaborating with the Bureau of Street Services on their Cool Neighborhoods project. We're hoping to be able to align cool blocks, climate resilience, engagement with what they're doing to cool the streets and the roofs of Los Angeles. I'm also in conversations with LA Sand about the greenhouse gas emissions inventory and LADWP, but it also looks like, other proprietary agencies might be interested in revamping the way that we present the data through a data portal and a dashboard, so that it's a citywide dashboard that presents this information more transparently to communities, etc. So it'll be something that is visible not just through a PDF, but actually a live and interactive dashboard for people to understand how we are making improvements throughout the year from the baseline year. And then we hope to be able to apply for more grants through the grants task force, and that has been extremely helpful. And it has been a very enlightening task force, and that's why some of these relationships have actually developed with the different bureaus that I just mentioned. And then these are the council file report backs that we're responsible for. I think I mentioned 21045, which is the greenhouse gas emissions data portal. There's also the ordinance that was passed for the commission. There's the LA 100 Equity Strategy Steering Committee. So I'm on the steering committee for LADWP's LA 100 Equity Strategy. We're still in the process actually of being formed and nominated. The SLTRP Advisory Committee, I'm part of that as well. Healthy Soils Interdepartmental Committee, and the BSS for Neighborhoods and Cool Blocks Climate Resilience Discussions. We're going to have ongoing community engagement. I have bi-weekly meetings with LEAP LA. I have weekly meetings with Liberty Hill. We've had a soft launch for the Cool City Challenge, even though the grant has not been dispersed yet. And then I've been in panels with 3 people, the National Academy of Sciences and CSA, AIA, among others, just to explain to them what Simo is about and how collaborative we are and how we are working with other bureaus and departments. And a quick recap of our goals. We want to launch the commission as soon as possible. We want to complete the curriculum and begin the engagement process through the community assemblies, and having EJ organizations, universities, and nonprofits as our partners, building and designing that curriculum. Continue to build the capacity of our office, complete the website and branding for Simo, fundraise for Simo with other bureaus and departments, and some departments that I'm currently in discussion with are EMD, LAFD, because they also have like emergency response systems that we hope to be able to support. Midterm goals: host those community assemblies, create synergy with these bureaus and departments that will also be represented on our commission, advocate for EJ equity lens and equity metrics for all climate and environmental policy, and track that climate resilience state legislation funding so that we can make it more accessible and available to not just Simo, but other offices as well. And then hopefully, we hope to hear from Cool City Challenge by the end of the year and have that funding allocation, and that will allow us to hire another program manager. and will be part of the long-term, strategic long-term resource plan and the LA 100 equity policy input. We will continue to work on all the council file report backs, coordinate pilot projects designed for communities, and then have deliverables like the Equitable Climate Action Plan and Roadmap. So I think that's it, guys. Thank you so much, and I want to open it up to questions that you might have. And thank you again for inviting us. I hope I didn't go too fast, but I know that, you know.
No, that's good.
Okay.
Commissioner Closer, why don't you kick us off?
Thank you, President Good. Thought that was a really comprehensive report. Thank you, Ms. Segura. I know you are an office of one right now, so you're doing lots, and you have you're planting a lot of seeds, and you're watering them, and soon enough we're going to get to reap from all your hard work. I don't have any questions for you right now, only because we got a chance to chat recently, and I know you are super busy, and a lot of the work that you're doing is in flux, pending some other work from council and all this other fun stuff. So thank you for all your hard work, and we look forward to seeing your biannual, right? Your report.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. I think one thing I forgot to mention is in these community assemblies, we hope to make them super relevant, right? And this is something that's come up a few times, that the word climate itself doesn't necessarily convey the values of the community when they're worried about their health, they're worried about their day-to-day, they're worried about their jobs. So we're going to actually try to make those community assemblies and workshops as relevant to the values of the community as possible, because that's what I think will help make sure that we get the engagement that we need to shape the policies in a way that benefits all of us.
Thank you, Commissioner Closer. Thank you, Mr. Rivera. President Pro Tem Davis.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, and Marta, thank you so very much for a comprehensive and well-organized report, and welcome to the Department of Public Works. And I just want to touch bases on a few items and really talk to you about your vision. I realize that you've not been able to complete some of the phases of the program that you're working on. In terms of sustainability and how we are going to be able to increase the awareness in the various communities. Obviously, oftentimes we have challenges based upon socioeconomic factors. What is our vision and our plan? I know that you're going to use these town hall meetings, but is there any specific kinds of efforts that we have to, or have we anticipated as it relates to, for example, South Los Angeles, perhaps East Los Angeles? Are there any unique kinds of focuses that we might have as we tackle this elephant, if you will, to increase awareness on sustainability in those areas?
Well, we're fortunate to both have the EJ organizations who are in South LA and East LA and in the Valley as well, and parts of Highland Park. So they're part of our strategy and our partnership, because they have, their own community communication strategy that will then relay what we relay in these community assemblies to their constituency. But more on point, we're also going to be reaching out to the neighborhood councils that are in these communities that may or may not be aware that they're in some of the most vulnerable, polluted neighborhoods of Los Angeles, and invite them to be part of not just the community assemblies, but of shaping policy. And also, one thing that keeps coming up again and again are these pilot programs. So, for example, if there's a church in South LA that wants to install solar panels or is interested in installing solar panels as a pilot project, that could be something that we help to facilitate, so that more people in the neighborhood understand what that means and how it reduces our bills and how it reduces emissions, So we want to make sure that we work with all kinds of organizations, not just environmental justice organizations, to ensure that the visibility of what we're doing gets out there. But we are still in the process of developing our mobilization strategy, both with the neighborhood council and with the EJ organizations and with the larger community. So I'll have to get back to you on a more strategic mobilization plan when that gets finalized.
Sure, and I would think that collaboration is critically important in terms of collaborating with perhaps DWP and maybe some other proprietary or other critical agencies. I don't know, we may even need to collaborate across government in terms of perhaps with the health department. As we think about increasing the awareness about sustainable tasks that individual families can take responsibilities for and to embrace as they seek to reduce some of the activities that are using more energy than we need to use, that is not capturing preservation to the degree that we need to, so that then increasing awareness in these challenging neighborhoods and collaborating with agencies, departments that may be the city, may be the county, and maybe perhaps making those a part of our town hall meetings in those particular areas. There is a learning challenge in certain areas, as I said, for socioeconomic reasons. And so your department is the glue that will allow us to embrace what we have not had time to do. And so the vehicle that you've already put in place seems to be a tool. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about is your vision in governance. You mentioned a commission. What is your vision in terms of what the commission will look like?
Well, I mean, the ordinance spells it out, and I there's 19 voting members, right? And 7 of those members will be nominated from those top 10% polluted communities as per Enviroscreen. So that includes South LA, East LA, the parts of the Valley, right? And even parts of Northeast Los Angeles that are in the most polluted parts of Los Angeles. And in addition to that, we're going to have labor leaders, youth, indigenous leaders, and then we're going to have experts from universities, for example, that will help to, move along discussions in policy areas where community leaders may not be expert in. But it's going to be a total of 19 voting members, so it's been quite a challenge. And one of the goals is for it to be extremely diverse, not just in ethnicity, but also in terms of the sectors that they represent, right? Great. So the vision is pretty well laid out in the ordinance. Number 2, you said, what's the vision for the commission? The commission is going to initially, I see it more as kind of like a human relations commission since it's advisory. It's going to build awareness. It's going to bring in speakers that will help to share that awareness on the areas that we've discussed: climate justice, climate equity, shaping policy. But in addition to that, it's going to pass the Equitable Climate Action Roadmap, which I think is going to be like our strategic plan. And it's also going to be a document that council can use to inform them on what the community's priorities are in terms of these policy areas that we're shaping at the City of Los Angeles.
Sure. As we think about conservation, as we think about individual choices, because reaching out through your vehicle as a town hall becomes a place where curriculum can be implemented to those neighbors that need it most. As we think about the infrastructure around transportation, for example, electric cars, and when we have more people that are owners of electric cars, there's a need, for example, to have appropriate stations. Who would be involved in the leadership of trying to make sure that that infrastructure is adequate and is valid for the market of individuals that we might have that grow to acquire those kind of cars, just as an example? In other words, would your division have something to do with reviewing that issue for the city? If we had an increase to make sure that there was an adequate infrastructure to be able to sustain the operation, I'm using that as just one example.
Yeah. Well, currently, DOT and DWP are tracking their own investments in EV charging stations, and they're reporting them through the Chief Sustainability Officer's meetings with the Mayor's office. But I do want, I do envision the Climate Emergency Mobilization Office tracking those types of numbers. And we only want to track them to ensure that we are an advocate for those investments. But overall, I think what we would like to see is for every bureau and every department to have their own equity metrics that align with the entire city, so that we can have a reporting mechanism like what we do with LA's Green New Deal, that is consistent year after year after year, and that highlights these many charging stations were invested in this part of South Los Angeles, or in this part of East LA, or in this part of Coquima. And we can see the percentage increases from year to year. So we are in the process of having those discussions since we're still forming. But I think that's a good example of why we need strong collaboration and strong trust amongst the bureaus and the departments with our office.
Now, as we look at the environment of government in Southern California, I think, to my knowledge, you're the only one that I know of, and I guess I don't leave City Hall that often. But are there any other governments that are doing what we're doing in terms of organizing around sustainability and being able to implement this curriculum to our various neighborhoods? I envision that when we look at the departments, for example, in public works, we look at, for example, sanitation, that they have goals and objectives around sustainability. But they shouldn't be the only one that has these goals and objectives. That we need to extend the same kind of thinking, not only to institutions, but to neighborhoods, to families, and to communities. I see you as the vehicle for doing that. So my question to you, though, is a larger question. Who else in this region is doing what you're doing for the city?
I think if you look at the state of California, other big cities like Oakland and San Francisco, Berkeley have embarked upon creating climate equity plans, but they don't have an office, and they don't have a commission, and they don't have a long-term mobilization strategy the way that Simo has been created. So we are unique in that, and I think we're pretty unique nationwide as well, in having that kind of infrastructure in place to, as you say, educate, build awareness, and be inclusive of the families that still have not been.
What about in Los Angeles County? Is the county doing something similar to this? Are any smaller cities in the Los Angeles County area, to your knowledge, doing
LA County has a great sustainability office, and they have had a strategic engagement process to create their sustainability plan. And they continue to engage individuals, but again, they have a very different structure. They don't have a commission, and they don't have ongoing community assemblies the way that we plan on having ongoing community assemblies. They have had them, but it's not part of their structure.
So I think in the end, hopefully your work will be infectious. That while we might be the first, I hope that we're not the last, as we look at this effort that needs to be spread throughout the whole entire region. So again, I thank you for your work. It looks very promising, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
President Davis, Commissioner Villegas.
Hi there. I kind of thought I was going to be called on next. Good report, Ms. Segura. I really enjoyed learning about it. I just took pictures of the slides, but is it going to be posted on your website? Or do you have one?
I don't have a website yet, but I will definitely email it to you all of you.
Oh, great. They were great slides.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was really good just to see the formation and the development of the office, and then just how all of the budget collaborates with, or makes a difference for all of your staffing needs. I thought that was really good. I'm just really encouraged by the amount of attention and detail also that you put into this. And I know that it's a big feat to undertake, so congratulations on that. You know, on the, I think there was a section where you put on their short and midterm goals. I think, you know, you have a landscaping analysis and climate change EJ policies. I just would like to collaborate a little bit with you on that. If
sure.
You know, we're doing our two things. We're doing, we're trying to attain to get to the mayor's Green New Deal goals with 90 trees, you know, every year, and just working a lot with our bureaus to be able to do that. And when we get, you know, tree permits to remove them, we are always like, you know, questioning and asking, you know, things that we can do to prevent the trees from being removed. That's one aspect. And then, sorry, it seems like when I speak, all the airplanes, all the buses, everything has to like come around. That's why you hear so much noise. But I never hear planes, but of course today. My other thing is that we are, so you are cognizant of this, we're doing with city plants, we're doing a funding mechanism to be able to identify ways that we can finance the planting needs and maintenance and operations of planting 90,000 trees annually. Normally all of our plantings are done through grants, and so we're looking to see how can the city take on that responsibility on our own. And we're working with a consultant to be able to do that right now. And so I think maybe that information can contribute to some of this this work, short and long-term goals, just to keep you in the loop in terms of what's going on. Yeah.
I really appreciate that. And just to kind of address a few of your questions, I've been invited by the mayor to create a video for COP26, which is the Glasgow meeting, where it's a follow-up on the Paris Climate Agreement, where all the nations come together. So it's a big honor. So in 3 minutes, I have to summarize how Simo is unique and what Simo wants to do. And as Commissioner Davis was implying, what kind of a blueprint we can create so that it can be replicated out there. So it's a real honor, and I'm a little nervous about it, but this is very helpful. Presenting to all of you is a good first step.
Yeah, you know, part of growth is just, Auda knows this, Commissioner Garcia knows this, get comfortable being uncomfortable, and you've done an excellent job, you know, presenting to our board, so don't, you know, you have nothing to worry about. You have a lot of good backing also with the brains over at Liberty Hill. Congratulations.
Great. Thank you all. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to continuing to work with each one of you.
Yeah, great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Vice President Garcia.
Yes, thank you, President Good. Martha, Mr. Good, I'm going to ask you probably a little bit of technical questions that I took notes while you were doing your presentation.
Sure.
First and foremost, I agree with all my colleagues. Thank you. You did a great job on putting together your PowerPoint and your presentations. I also want to highlight that your citations were appreciated. You know, a lot of the times folks put together PowerPoints, but they don't cite where they received or where they got the information, and you were very thorough on making sure that we did. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. There was a slide there. I think early on in your presentation, you talked about a couple of partners that you're working with, and one of them you mentioned like UCLA, USC, and so forth. But one of them was the University of Pennsylvania, and you said that you are looking into them for technical assistance for your office. My question to you is, why the University of Pennsylvania?
You know what? The World Resources Institute, which is a partner of the cities, they're all providing pro bono assistance right now. So the World Resources Institute, which has worked with the mayor, worked with Ali San, is actually advising me right now on this issue of creating an equitable climate action roadmap. So they referred me to an expert at the University of Pennsylvania who would be interested potentially in providing more pro bono support. So it's not paid support, it's pro bono. It's a give and take, right? Like with UCLA and USC, when we take on a graduate student or a doctoral student, we benefit from the research, but they benefit from having real world experience.
Yeah, understood. Perfect.
So,
Thank you for clarifying that. It was just kind of,
how did that happen?
Yeah. Well, we have USC right down the street. What's going on?
And I'm working with USC and UCLA.
Okay, thank you. No. It was just a note, and just why Pennsylvania and not our local, university. Yeah. But it completely makes sense, and obviously anything that we can, in places that we can collaborate, it's really a way of us making sure that we get things done. So that's a good collaboration.
No, and USC has, as you know, Manuel Pastor and Occidental Jim Saad, and they have created an environmental justice screening method that I hope to work closely with, because the Biden administration, as you all know, is still figuring out how do we implement this Justice 40, what does it look like on the local level, and what they've done with EJSM, or their screening method, is to improve upon Enviroscreen. And again, Enviroscreen, there's nothing like it in the nation, so we should all be very proud that we have Enviroscreen in California. We are using it extensively in Los Angeles, and so USC is a big part of Simo's future work.
Good. I hope that we can, as you grow your department and as this work grows, we can hopefully intake some of these students that are locally, learning about this. So thank you for that. Which brings me right into my next question, which is your workforce piece. And so I know that right now there's so many facets that you're trying to develop at the same time. And so my question to you is, are you working, or you will eventually work, and I know that the commission has a lot to do with it, but you did state workforce in your PowerPoint. Are you working into creating, and that might be not creating positions per se, but looking at education and certification pathways into green jobs, and how can then we help educate our community on potential jobs or workforce around green, green climate and jobs around that industry?
Well, I mean, it's a great question. I think there are some really great initiatives at the City of Los Angeles already, and as we move forward with our, community engagement piece, we want the workforce piece to be a part of how we shape policies, all of them. The energy plan, which is LA 100, building decarbonization, it's very integral to all of the climate policy work. And then we're also part of LA County's environmental justice task force that they're continuing. So we want to make sure that we don't reinvent the wheel either. So, and for example, the policy that the Board of Public Works created recently to increase pathways for communities of color to be public sector workers, all of that is really great policy that has been created that we hope to be able to share, but also integrate as we shape new policy in the future.
Right, and I bring that up because I know that our big effort is to make sure that our low-income communities or communities that have been impacted with this type of I'm lacking so many words right now, but this type of climate situations that have caused so much in our community, in our low-income communities. And so given that we're moving into this Green New Deal and more sustainable efforts throughout the city, I imagine there's going to be a lot of new positions and new career pathways. So it'll be good to really identify or find these schools/programs that can help especially maybe our low-income communities understand that there's career paths pathways in this, and where can they go? So I always use the same example. So for example, I live in South LA, and I'm interested in sustainability and the environment and so forth. How do I start to become someone that can help around it and move away from being, maybe an activist or a participant to a profession and a career. And I'm saying identify what schools are providing that type of education. Maybe it's just accumulating that knowledge of what schools, university program, certification there is around that sector, so that we can promote that for a lot of kids. And so, for example, like we have a wastewater worker position here, like, if I wake up one day, like, how do I become that? How do I get to that pathway and help recycle and clean our water? Because a lot of folks are interested in doing that. So I don't expect a full answer, Marta, because I know you're just starting, and this is one piece of like a million things you have to get done. So but I just want to, eventually get to a point where we can also share that information. And if folks want to get into this type of sector, we have a pathway into it.
Awesome. Yeah, no. Well taken. And that is a big task that is definitely going to be a collaborative effort with all of the departments and bureaus who have given a lot of thought to that, actually. But I think it's a great idea to create the pathways, like which community colleges can people go to, which colleges, which trade schools. If I want to get into any aspect of greening Los Angeles, where do I go? Right? Exactly.
And so maybe even just having that information available to our community is important. Just that's important.
Great.
And then this is my last point. I promise that this is my last point, colleagues. And there was a point where you talked about ARC, and I didn't write it right, but the mapping of orphan oil wells. And I think under your PowerPoint, it said something like somebody's helping you do that or something like that.
Yeah, it's a graduate student from UCLA and a BOE engineer who's an expert GIS mapper, and she's actually really good herself. So it's actually a collaborative project that I'm doing with Erica. Erica gave me the list of the 56 orphaned wells, and one of our graduate students wanted to look at different layers of it, like not just where they are, but are there sensitive receptors? Are they near schools, nursing homes, hospitals? So she's mapping sensitive receptors, and she's using it as a project for school, and so she's actually adding other layers to it. And then once it's produced and done, I will share it with Erica and then see if it could be useful to her and to the city in our advocacy for increasing investments to mitigate those orphaned wells. Because having the list is fantastic, but then having the list layered with sensitive receptors and vulnerable communities is even more of an advocacy piece, so that our state government can expedite those investments to our city.
Got it. Thank you for saying that, Marta. That was exactly my point. I wanted to see if you were working with our petroleum office, specifically our director, Erica, but it sounds like you have that covered, and that information is useful to us as the board, as we, make decisions around that office as well. So thank you for that.
Yeah. It's a graduate level program, and she's still going to need all the staff that she's requested for sure.
You'll let her. Other than that, I don't have anything else. Marta, I appreciate your time, and I look forward to the development of your office.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. Thank you for your time, and I'm available for questions after this, and I'll send you the presentation. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Segura. That was a great presentation. Really appreciate it. And obviously, you and I brief regularly, so I'm pretty familiar with all this, and I'm very much looking forward to the development of the curriculums. One thing, if you could, I know that you've made the most progress on the decarb curriculum. Can you share with the commission or with the board sort of the anticipated sort of sequencing?
Sure. So basically, we hope that by December, January, we release the decarb curriculum. That'll take a month or two. And then after that will be the LA 100 energy plan curriculum. That'll take a month or two. Then after that, it'll be the climate resilience curriculum. That'll take a month or two. And then recall, we're integrating workforce development and just transition dialogue within each one of those. And then after each one of those, we're going to have a committee of experts on community create a report, like a 10-page report that will be delivered to the commission, but we can also deliver it to council if that's appropriate, so that as they're shaping the decarbonization policy, as they're shaping the LA 100 policy, as they're shaping the climate resilience policy, we're not waiting till the very end of the year when all of them are pulled together as a final report and as a final climate action roadmap. Hopefully that makes sense. So it's going to be like a 9 to 12 month process, probably, to get all four series out and the reports written and into a strategic plan.
Thank you. That's helpful. And yes, that will be an exhaustive process for sure. But compelling. And I mean, as you explained to me, when we say curriculum in this setting, we're not talking like a syllabus per se, but a framework for action, really, right?
Yeah, it's a framework for action and sharing relevant information and making sure that there's a feedback loop, so then we get their input, whether it's through polling, surveying, or more focus groups. But yeah, basically we're going to have a series of workshops. That's what the curriculum means. And the curriculum will be very community oriented, and it'll be as relevant and as easy and digestible to understand as humanly possible, and translated for the relevant communities. Right.
There you go, Ms. Closer. All right, thank you. Really, really helpful, Ms. Figueroa. Let's get that hiring going. And I know we are. And we will. I'll talk to you very soon. Thank you very much for that presentation, Dr. Campos. We have these briefings with Marta scheduled.
Semi-annual.
Perfect. Okay, good. And as things heat up, as it were, wrong verb phrase. We may end up calling in more frequently, just because there will be things sort of happening in the hopper soon. So
great.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Really appreciate it. And I believe, colleagues, Dr. Campos, we have cleared the decks.
Yes, you have.
All right, and I think several folks have 1 o'clock. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much.